I don't want procrastination. You have to have a dream, right? It's important. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another video of This Is Living. We're gonna talk today a little bit about procrastination. Now, I don't want you to think this is a motivational speech, a guide to eliminate procrastination. It's more of a little bit of a story about how it affected me and how I'm still kind of disciplining myself out of it, hopefully eventually getting rid of it entirely. But it was something that was setting me back in my goals and my dreams and my aspirations, and we're gonna talk about all of this in today's video. I hope to share this with you and maybe get some feedback from you in the comments. Maybe other people have struggled with this, or maybe my experience and my story can help somebody out, and I would be more than happy if that's all that turns out from this. So let's get into it. A little bit of a background. I am the kind of person that's a little bit more on the creative side. I don't really like things to be super organized, super set in stone and things like that, and that's also a type of personality that I think, or a type of attitude that I think helped feed into my procrastination habits, which probably started after high school, probably a little bit in university, when I really had my own personal computer next to me all the time, which the PC, and now we can say phones, are easy tools that aid procrastination. So let's get this out of the way, right? I don't mean it by, just take your PC away, lock your phone away when you want to work. But if that's something that has to happen, then maybe that's something that needs to happen. But that's up to you, right? Everything is very individual. Everything is very subjective. Not everybody's the same, right? It has to come organically from your need to not waste time, because that's kind of what procrastination is. It's basically wasting time. Now, I was always kind of diligent. I was always, on point working. But what happened once is back in university, I didn't study. I actually worked abroad in the US for a couple of months. I think it was about 3 or 4 months. It was an awesome experience. I would recommend that to anybody. If you're still in university and you have the possibility to go with programs like work and travel, student travel, whatever program you have similar to this in your country, I would highly recommend you do it. It's a very nice cultural experience, and it taught me a lot. You get to learn a lot. You get to learn the goods and the bads, and we're gonna talk a little bit of some of the bads that I picked up. And it wasn't because of the experience, it was basically because of me. So I essentially got into the US. I went there alone. I didn't have a group of friends to go with. I did have a lot of friends there. I had a lot of fun. I got along with a lot of people. I was hoping more, but that's another story. And but the experience was very new, and it was a little bit frightening for me because I was very far away from my family, from the place I grew up. I didn't get to travel too much beforehand, so it was one of the first traveling experiences. I think it's the second time I actually went traveling outside of my country, right? And it was a very, very far away, disconnected from everybody. I was literally on my own, realistically, for the first time ever. It was a little bit scary. So the way that I managed to cope with it was basically kind of rewarding myself, making myself feel better about little things that I was able to do. Oh, I got through the work week. I deserve something. Like, I don't know, I'm just gonna go out and eat something at a restaurant, or I can buy myself a nice thing, right? Little things like these. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Microphone. Little things like these I started to reward myself with, to make myself feel better and to make myself not feel as scared about the hard things that I needed to do, because there were a lot of things that I did not want to do, but I had to do them, right? It's part of responsibility, and you probably know this, and if you don't, you should get on the responsibility train right now. It helps you grow as a person, but that's a talk for another day, right? There are a lot of good people like Jordan Peterson that talk about responsibility a lot, and you can check some of his talks. But basically, that was something that I think was necessary at the time, but that also helped feed my procrastination, because once that set in, every time that I was doing something difficult, or I had a difficult day, or I knew that something difficult was coming, I was like, I just need a little break. I just need to watch this 10-minute video about cats or whatever. I don't want to watch cats, but you know what I mean. Like browsing 9gag, watching memes, reading Reddit, whatever you have that distracts you, playing a mobile game, whatever you have. So I can just cram in 5 minutes. It's fine. I've been working all day. I can do this, right? Then you keep postponing what you have to do for longer and longer, and you keep well, that's basically me. I kept finding excuses to postpone, because like, okay, I'm already very productive, I'm already doing a lot of things that I think are very hard, so I deserve to, you know, postpone this next thing just to be able to, you know, play a video game or whatever. And that doesn't help, right? It can affect different people in different ways, but essentially I was not productive. I always pushed all of my deadlines to the last minute, which fortunately kind of worked for me, because I'm the kind of person that works well under pressure, although it's not healthy and it's not ideal in the long run, because it causes a lot of stress. It exhausts you to no end. You lose nights of sleep, and it will start to affect your health, right? So even though procrastination might sound like something simple, it can have deep impacts depending on the kind of person that you are, and it affected me more than I realized at the time. This is kind of how it was with me. Like, there's no specific examples to give, because it affected my schoolwork, it affected my actual work, and it affected my hobbies, like what I essentially set up for myself to do. Like, I would like to get this someday in my life, right? But I kept postponing it. Now, there are a couple of things that, well, actually, I think two major things that I want to mention that helped me fight procrastination and become more productive and actually work towards accomplishing my dreams. One of which is having a YouTube channel. This is our second YouTube channel. I'm working on it with Marcelian, which you can see in the background. He has a really nice back over there. Yeah, there you go. We already have a World of Warcraft channel, if you're not already aware, but that took a lot of work, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do it if I started it about 10 years ago, let's say. Well, not 10 years, like 7 years ago. So the first thing that changed is a goal, a dream. You have to have a goal, you have to have a dream, right? It's important. And I'm not just saying that. It sounds cliche to say that, right? But a goal and dream can be anything. It can be something from, oh, I want to write a book by the end of my life, which is something that I have on my bucket list, by the way. Or I want my own company, or I want a promotion, or I want to travel, right? But ideally, a goal and a dream should be something that can sustain your lifestyle. Traveling is something more of a pleasure thing, right? Which can still be a goal that you can work towards, still an admirable goal. I personally like to keep my goals on the productive side, goals that can sustain my lifestyle, so something more oriented towards a career. But they can be anything, right? And going into this and talking about this a little bit more, I would highly suggest you guys always use a pen and paper, right? You can write down a lot of things on, let's say, spreadsheets, documents. You can have apps on your phones to organize your day and set up different things, different goals, which is all nice and good. But I am a strong advocate of writing things down, because you can just use something like this. This is my agenda. I essentially write down all of my daily goals, and once I have like a busier day, I start to, you know, leave notes, things like this, and I can check it back. There's an interesting psychological effect that this does to your brain, and I'm not that technical to know exactly what it is, but what I felt it did to me is that once I've written something down, it immediately became a real thing. It wasn't just an idea in the back of my head. It wasn't just a thought. It's like, oh, it would be nice if I did that. No. Once I written it down, my brain was like, holy shit, this is actually real. This is a real thing. No, another thing that you are to actually start to visualize it, because it's written down, you visualize the words and you connect the word with the activity that you need to do. It's like, oh yeah, that's there on the paper. It's not just a thought that you can dismiss. It's real, right? This is kind of the effect that it had on me, and I think it's kind of, you know, how it might work for everybody. I'm not sure, but it helped me a lot to take my goals seriously, right? It helps a lot. Now, so sit down at your desk, drink a cup of coffee, like this. Oh, this is such a nice cup of coffee. See, cheers. It's a little bit lukewarm. But get a cup of coffee and really think about yourself. Try to be honest with yourself. Sit down with a pen and paper and write down what your goal is. What would you like to do in your life? If, let's say, today was the last day on earth for you, what would your biggest regret be about not doing, or what would you have accomplished that would make you be at peace and say, I'm happy, I did this, I have no regrets? That one thing should be your goal. I mean, that's kind of how it worked with me. Maybe can work with you as well. But that's how I can really get down to it without, you know, kidding myself. That's what I want to accomplish, right? Once you have a goal, we get to the second most important part, and this is probably a lot harder to do. It was very hard to do for me, and it still is, because I'm, like I said, I'm kind of the creative person. I don't like to feel the restraints, you know, etching in my day. I don't want to feel like I'm constrained to do something specific, and that is a schedule. Yeah, you need a schedule for every day. Unless you're giving yourself a day off, which I personally am. That's usually Sundays. I don't have a schedule because Sundays I just want to relax and get rest and, you know, do whatever I feel like doing. But every other day has a schedule. Now, there are a couple of reasons why a schedule is very important. Again, the same kind of principle applies to the goals. Once you set things down, they become real activities that you cannot ignore anymore. Because once you write something down and you don't do it, then you feel bad about it, which is good. You should feel bad about it, because that's how you improve and you grow, because you know what's good and bad and you want to do the good. So, you know, it gets an imprint in your brain. Another good part about writing down a schedule is that you actually can organize your day. And if you put all of the activities that you want to accomplish in there, it's like, okay, I need to go shopping. That takes about 2 hours. Oh, I need to vacuum. That takes about 1 hour. Oh, I need to research X. That takes about 4 hours. And I need to write down something about B. That takes 1 more hour, right? So you kind of start to visualize all of these things. You can essentially approximate the amount of time that they would take for you to accomplish, which is very good. It's very good to do that. And then you start to realize, oh, and if I do all of these, then I have this extra chunk of free time that you can do, that you can spend with your friends and family. You can cook, which is one of my personal pleasures. You can play video games, you can read a book, you can write a book, or you can do whatever you want during that free time. But once you have everything organized, you can do whatever you would normally do while you're normally procrastinating. That helps your brain be more organized, and it helps your brain think more efficiently about what you have to do, right? So schedule is very important. And if you really think about it, most, if not all, greatest human achievements have been done by managing and scheduling, right? If you really think of like the most impressive buildings being built, the most impressive scientific projects being put into action, like we probably wouldn't have been able, as a race, been able to put a human being on the moon if, you know, people weren't organized, people weren't managing their time and scheduling, you know, delegating responsibilities. That's, you know, it's a whole process, right? So most, if not all, the major accomplishments that led to us evolving as a society and as a race came by organizing, scheduling, right? As much as we don't like to admit it, as much as I didn't like to admit it, that's how you get things done. There's no way around it. There are very, of course, special exceptions to this rule. People who don't need a schedule, that can just get shit done. If you're that kind of person, you probably don't even need to watch this video. But let's be real, most of us are not like that. Most of us are not superhumans. You accept it, accept who you are, and schedule yourself. Write it down and try to be very rigid with yourself. Don't be unreasonable. You have to be reasonable, but don't be unreasonable, right? Think about it. Okay, in a realistic sense, I can accomplish all of these and it would be a good day. And once you're there, once you've accomplished that, once you've scheduled everything, you can say, I'm working from 9 to 5. Once the 5 o'clock hour hits, you stop. Okay, because once you set clear parameters of, okay, I'm working from this hour to this hour, then and you know that you stop working at 5, then you won't feel as incentivized to procrastinate, right? Because you know that once 5 o'clock hits, you can do whatever you want, right? So that's very important. This is just an example. You can set your own hours, right? But this is a very good way to eliminate procrastination, because once you know, your brain knows, okay, I know I have this segment that I need to work on, and I know that if I get this done, I'll have all the time in the world to do whatever I want and you know, the rest of the day. So that's also very important. And one last thing that I wanted to mention, which initially I didn't think about talking about this one, but I just realized it's probably the most important thing, actually. To eliminate procrastination, you have to start now. Now is the strongest word against procrastination. There's no, okay, let me just do no, let me just do this one more thing. No, you do it now. You get off your ass, You start to take a pen and paper and start write down right now. This is the problem, because every little bad habit starts to feed into more and more and more. So if you have a very strict schedule, but then you say, oh, I can just squeeze in these 5 minutes of 9gag or cat videos or whatever, right? Then the next set of 5 minutes is easier to squeeze in, and the next set of 5 minutes is even easier to squeeze in, and little by little the bad habits tend to build, right? That's why you have to be a little bit more strict with yourself. You say, now, no, I need to do this now, and after that I get to do whatever I want. So this is kind of like the more general talk. It's a bit more freestyle. So if you have any thoughts about it, if you've encountered this as well, if you're still battling with it, if you're struggling, if you have any advice for people, feel free to hit the comments down below. I'm more than curious to know what you guys think about this, because like I said, I'm still battling it. I'm still disciplining myself to procrastinate as little as possible and be more productive as possible, because this is how we achieve our dreams. Let's be real here. To get things done, you have to be productive. There's no way around it. Hope you enjoyed the talk. Take care of yourself, and see you in the next one.